Hüsker and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Greg Norton.
Ryan Smith. Derek O'Brien.
Ultrabomb here at Punk Rock Bowling. This is one of the coolest festivals, isn't it?
The PRB is one of the best punk festivals in the world. Definitely the premier punk festival in the United States.
I think it's totally cool because you got the bowling, you got the poker, you got the club shows, you got the festival. It's like just overtakes all of downtown Las Vegas.
It does, and it's kind of fun to go over to the Golden Nugget and see the swimming pool completely overtaken by punk rockers, and then there'll be some old couple going like, "What is going on here?"
I know. I was at the punk rock swim this morning. It was funny because you have the circle pit in the water, but then the mandatory every year at this festival is somebody has a blow-up sex doll in the circle pit.
Well, some traditions you just can't break.
I know, right? So tell the listeners a little bit about how this, as they want to call it, super group happened. Like, what happened that one day you guys just decided to do this?
Well, the Ultrabomb story is, so years ago I was in a band called Hüsker Dü.
Yeah.
And
I think I heard of them.
Yeah, they did a thing, right? And about 4 years ago, a guitarist friend of mine named Finney McConnell, who lives in Toronto, contacted me because he saw that I wasn't playing with anybody, and asked if I wanted to be in a band with Jamie Oliver, who was the UK Subs drummer for 17 years. And the original concept was just to get together for fun, have some laughs, maybe play a festival or two, and just do Hüsker Dü covers, Mahone's covers, UK Sub covers. And things quickly changed when I decided to fly to Berlin, Germany, because Finney was there. He had some studio time booked. He said he was going to just kind of record some demos for some original Ultrabomb songs. And Jamie happened to be in Berlin at the same time. And this is the crazy thing. I had never met either of these guys in person. So
wow.
I decided to jump on a plane, fly to Berlin. And the very first time the three of us were in the same room together was in a studio in Berlin. And in 2 days, we wrote 10 songs. And on the third day, Finney looked at my lyrics and said, "I've got the whole record figured out." And on the last day, the fourth day, he went in and sang all of my lyrics to the music that we had just written, and we recorded an absolute banger with "Time to Burn." Being an international trio was very challenging logistically, and we played Punk Rock Bowling 2 years ago. And we did a tour last year with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and it became apparent that Jamie had some legal issues that prevented him from getting a work permit in the U.S. or getting into Canada. So the decision was made that Jamie was going to step aside. We met Derek actually here 2 years ago, and Derek is a longtime friend of Darren Heeman, who runs DC Jam Records, and Darren is putting our records out. So when it came time to look for a new drummer, we decided to ask Derek, not knowing if he would be interested or not, and he was like, "Absolutely, I'm in. I would love to be in this band." So that's Ultrabomb now 2.0, and at the beginning of this year, we had to, Finney McConnell decided that he was going to step aside and concentrate on the Mahones, and so we needed a new guitar player. I've known Ryan for quite some time. Ryan actually lives in Minnesota with me, and I was like, hey man, would you like to play guitar in my band? And he said, I would love to. So that's the lineup now. Ryan has been playing with Soul Asylum for about 10 years. Derek has drummed with a lot of really great Southern California bands, Social Distortion, the Adolescents, DI, Agent Orange, and was one of the founders of punk rock karaoke, which of course is a huge tradition here at PRB.
Totally.
They close out the festival every year, and we are really excited now to get out and rock.
I love it. What a great story, too, because, you know, it evolved, and then I was sitting outside before while you were sound checking. I'm like, man, they sound pretty badass sound checking. You know?
Well, that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so maybe you guys can tell your side of the story here.
Well, I think for me, it's a huge honor to play. Like I've known Greg a long time. Hüsker Dü is one of my all-time favorite bands, flat out. So playing those songs with Greg is really, really cool. And Social Distortion, all the bands that Derek's been in too. So, I was really intrigued by the initial call, like to, hey, can you play guitar for a show? We had a show booked together with a couple different bands, and I was super excited to do it. So I was like, there's no way I'm saying no to that. That sounds really awesome. And
Right.
I've started listening to the Ultrabomb catalog, and I was like, this is great. So I'm just super excited about playing with these guys in the future and making new music, playing these shows, going on tour. Yeah.
Cool.
That's my side of the story.
What's your side of the story, Dark?
My side of the story started 2 years ago when I came out on the word of Darren Heeman from DC Jam. He was telling me all about, Ultrabomb, and kind of filled me in on what they're doing. And I got to hear, their music, and then I came out to see him at Punk Rock Bowling, and I was talking to them about just doing some recording with them. And I met, everybody, Finney, Jamie, Greg, and, the merch guy, and just everybody that's involved. But, I'm a longtime fan of Hüsker Dü and Soul Asylum and, like, everything that these guys have done, too. So it's like, hell yeah,
See, that's why I like to hear, like, all three of you have, like, ultra respect for each other. And that doesn't always happen in bands. Like, there's a lot of ego sometimes. So you guys have this chemistry that I think that's what makes great music.
Well, walking into a situation like that keeps me humble. So anyway, we kind of kept in touch, and then after Jamie left, Darren told me about man, you got to play drums for these guys, and he kind of just put it like that. I was like, yeah, I do. So then I talked to Greg and was just like, yeah, I'd love to, and then we kept in touch, and then, Finney ended up leaving as well. So it was kind of like, okay, so what do we do now? And, Greg and Darren had just gotten fresh Ultrabomb tattoos. So I knew they were dedicated, and I asked them if they still had their tattoos.
I want to see
which
them,
they do.
yeah. Nice.
Yep. And so, all right, man, how do we move forward? Ultrabomb 2.0.
Nice.
And I think Darren was the first one that brought up, talking about Ryan. And we were just like, hell yeah, that sounds great.
That's pretty cool. And so how do you guys, like, as people are been around a long time in this whole scene, how do you see how music has changed and punk rock has changed in general and rock and everything from your point of view?
That's a broad question.
I know, right? That's what makes it harder.
The crazy thing, Hüsker Dü started in 1979, and we toured extensively through the early 80s up until the band disbanded in 1988. And this is pre-internet, right?
Yeah.
So you would have a notebook with phone numbers in it. You would find a payphone. You would call some kid and go like, "Hey, I hear that you put on shows in, wherever you are," and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'll put on a show." And a lot of times, like their mom or dad would answer because they were still like in high school, living in at their parents' house. And you'd show up and just hope that there'd be a venue, hope there'd be a stage, hope there'd be a PA, hope that there'd be like an audience. But back then, it's like people did show up because that's how you found out about music, And every town that you played, there was a kid that was, writing a fanzine and would want to do an interview and review the show. And, that was kind of like the lifeline for people to find out about music. Now, 40 years later, it's the internet. Everything's online, everything's digital. It's a little bit harder to get people to discover you because, if you don't capture their attention in 3 seconds,
right,
they're out, And again, it's the other big thing is now they're, the promoters and venues. It's a real machine now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
it was
thing,
just
though,
an
is that,
underground thing.
The amount of money that bands used to make in the 80s is still the same amount of money that clubs want to pay you, so that hasn't changed. Ticket prices have gone way up.
Yeah.
The amount of money that goes to the bands hasn't. It's sort of like minimum wage, right? Yeah.
That's why I always tell everybody when I'm doing interviews that they can't listen to my show unless they buy the band's merch. Because that's the only way you guys make money nowadays.
And that's it. It's like you want to support bands that you love. Make sure you go to the show, pay that cover charge, stick around and watch all of the bands, not just your friend's band. And then, buy some merch because that's money that's going to go into their gas tank and keep them fed to the next show.
No doubt. For me, a beautiful thing is like I lived in LA in the 80s. Had long hair, couldn't go to fucking punk shows because I would have gotten my ass kicked. And there were a lot. Actually, there's like a lot of shows I've gone to in the past 10 years that were like bucket list because I like Discharge, Exploited. The only show I could really go to back then was DRI, which again, same thing. They recorded I Don't Need Society in their parents' bedroom.
Yep.
So that's what I love that is one thing I do love about today is that we're a much bigger community now. Right. And really punk is, it is about community. It's about helping people out. It's, if somebody falls down, you help them up. No doubt. And that's, metaphorically too, is like, you support your friends, look out for their mental health, look out for their, general well-being, support marginalized groups of people. Punk is all about that community. And always has been. Always has been, yep. And, and being here at Punk Rock Bowling, this is something, so this is the 25th year of Punk Rock Bowling. And there are so many other really great festivals that have sprung up, Camp Punksylvania, and you've got Punk in the Park, you've got, obviously Riot Fest and things like that. And these are really great opportunities to get in and discover new bands as well, and I'm excited. I saw a band called Civic just earlier this afternoon. They're from Melbourne, Australia. They were amazing. They blew my mind. It was great, so it's getting out and discovering that, what I love is that seeing these young bands and these young kids that are just really killing it on the punk and hardcore scene and knowing what I did in Soul Asylum and Social Distortion, all these bands that have been around for quite some time,
kids are still listening, and they're carrying on the traditions that we started. That's
You know
awesome.
what blows my mind is I do like festivals all over the U.S., UK, Europe, and seeing all these kids wearing shirts and actually knowing the lyrics to songs that, like, how do they know this music? And you know what I figured out what it was? When we were kids, our parents were listening to shit that we had to rebel against. And nowadays, you know, our generation is influencing kids. My son, I brought him in his first pit. My grandson, just last week, I brought him in his first pit at Welcome to Rockville. And, you know, it's like our kids are listening to what we listened to, which didn't happen when we were kids. So I think that is amazing. When I see these kids,
I agree with that.
They're not
Yep.
just wearing the shirts. Like, you know, there's people out there that just wear Misfit shirts because they look cool. But I watch these kids, like, actually singing the lyrics. And I'm like, whoa, how'd that happen? And I think it's totally cool.
I would agree with that.
This, anybody else?
I agree with that. My daughter's right over there, Skylar, and she definitely like has really taken on to this. She loves punk music, and she loves all of the music she's exposed to. And I have to give a nod to my grandma, who gave me the Stooges album Funhouse.
Nice.
I was 12,
Wow.
and my grandma. So talking about, I didn't have to rebel up against my grandma's music, but that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Ryan's the kid in the band.
I love it. Now, what I don't like nowadays is it blows my mind that punk rock bands have to sing about the same shit we sang in the 80s because it's even fucking worse. How did it not get better? Fucking blows my mind.
I agree with that. You know, it's protest music will never go away because there's
There's always assholes.
There's always something to get outraged about and protest about, and this is really definitely a time that's kind of like even more important now than it was, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Music, it seemed like, the 90s was a lot of like pop punk and stuff like that. And it didn't seem like there was a lot of protesting going on, but now it's like there is definitely a lot of outrage, and people do need to speak up. And, if you don't speak up now, it's going to make other people that want to speak up, they're not going to, because you're not speaking up. So I think
and
it's really
we
important.
definitely need it now more than ever, I think.
Yeah, more than ever in this country's history.
100%.
Equal or more to the Vietnam War, when a lot of great music came out originally. 60s protests were kind of what stylized protest music. I mean, there was early stuff with the unions.
Mm-hmm.
This machine kills fascists, hasn't died. And now we have a fascist government that is oppressive and really hurting, like the marginalized people that, Greg just mentioned that
Reagan
punk rock
look
helps.
good.
Yeah.
And that fucking blows my mind.
Reagan becomes Norman Rockwell.
I know, right? My best bro, who passed away last year, but since 13, we always went to shows together. He was like, after 2016, he was like, I hated Reagan's policies, but at least he was actually, even though he was an asshole, doing what he thought was good for the country, not this person. I call him on the air so we don't get, I don't get visited. I call him Resident Rump.
Well, I think what's confusing is that's good,
right?
I think what gets confusing is the idea of the anarchy in punk, where if somebody takes that in the wrong way, it's we'll do whatever we want, we'll destroy the government, and we'll leave everyone out, and there'll only be a very small few who even have a benefit from a government.
Meanwhile, I didn't ever see punks or metalheads storm the Capitol ever.
Right.
So we're not the ones.
No, we're for the people.
Exactly.
You know, and that's really like, you know, how punk started. It was kind of the outcasts getting together and kind of helping each other out and starting a scene.
I think the punk scene was like the natural segue from the hippie scene because they were the protesters, but you need to take it to another level. And I think that's what punk did. And now we need to take it to a fucking stratospheric level now.
Absolutely.
I have this philosophy, let's get the whole world to go to a mandatory music festival, and then we could finally unite the world and beat all the fascists.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and then at the top of the chain, you've got Bruce Springsteen and, you know, others chiming in on the message.
Yeah.
You know, Taylor Swift, and it's like they're saying the same thing the punks are saying.
Which is wild, right? When
Yeah.
the pop is saying the same as the punk, you know it needs to be said.
It's like Dropkick Murphys, and then the next day it's, you know,
Totally.
top 40 fans.
So is there anything else you guys want the listeners to know about you guys or anything that's coming up?
Tour dates?
Plus socials, website, all that good stuff.
Yes, Ultrabomb is on all of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Bands in Town, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Find us, follow us, like us, comment on things, share it with your friends, because this is also one of the big differences is now you have to feed the algorithm because that's a beast that is insatiable. And unfortunately, it's a game that everybody needs to play.
Mm-hmm.
Find us on that. Also, we're doing a West Coast tour in June with the band called Dead Bob, which is John Wright, the drummer from No Means No. It's his new outfit. They are an amazing high-intensity band, and they definitely match Ultrabomb's intensity on stage. So that will be a show that people should get to. So it's all West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, happening this June.
Love it. And I'm looking forward to your show tonight here at Punk Rock Bowling at, what's it
Hogs
called?
and Heifers, the Punk Rock Hoedown, which the organization Punk Rock Saves Lives. This is the 10th year that they have had the Punk Rock Hoedown here at Hogs and Heifers, and it's a donation at the door, but all of that money goes to support Punk Rock Saves Lives and everything that they do to help the community.
Which is a great organization because punk rock and music in general has saved so many people's lives.
Punk rock has saved my life numerous times.
There it is. I think all of us sitting at this table for sure.
Yep.
Well, thanks for being here with us. Thanks for making great music.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being on the adventures of Pipe Man.
Thank you, and thank you for keeping journalism alive.
And real.
And real.
That's the way I like to look at it, you know? Like, fuck this other shit, you know? When did that happen, too? You know, when journalism got paid by the people with the money. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Keep everyone talking.
That's
keep it going.
Well, let's do it, and you guys keep fucking killing it, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.